everybody. I'm trying to decide on the lighting. It's a little off today. I think this is too bright. Hold on. I don't know. Maybe, no, that looks a little better. All right. My bad. All right, so welcome everybody. It's so nice to see you all. It's the first stream of the week, so you know what that means. 5 memberships from me. And I saw that Michael Macenis popped in here and gifted a membership and then had to go. But that was very generous of him. There they go. Hooray! All right. Thank you so much to everybody who's so generous on here and allows so many other people to get to be members. To everybody, oh, thank you, Danny, as well. I'm glad you can join the stream today, Danny. And for those of you who are not members, thank you very much for joining in. I see you, and hopefully you'll get gifted a membership, or maybe someday you'll be able to join. But I always check the comments as well, so I see after the video. So I see you. Okay, so hey, Crown Wolf. All right, so we have a lot of great stories to go over today. DC is, it's nice for DC. They're dominating the conversation. That's important. Hey, Jerry, James Gunn shut down a lot of DC conversation when he decided to, play speculation police. You know what? I'm feeling good about DC, so I don't want to go backwards. I want to go forwards. And so that's really what I want to focus on. Oh, Green Lantern's light. Perfect for the DC stream. Thank you very much. That was very generous of you. But so, yeah, it's nice to be able, well, we have one good DC story and one bad DC story. So, it's still a little all over the place, but it'll be fun to discuss today. Please keep your questions and comments to the story at hand. At the end of each section, I'll open it up and I will address your questions and comments. If you do a super chat before I do that, I might not get to it because YouTube erases them after a little bit. And then at the very end, of course, though, as always, I'll do, ask me anything for the final 10 minutes of the stream. Okay. Is Penguin saving DC at the moment? I think, its viewership is, medium. I think I saw a headline the other day that 1.7 million people watched the show across all platforms opening night. I mean, the first episode has done quite well, but we haven't seen, 13 million people have watched the first episode of Penguin. And I love the show. Hey, John Kal-El. Thank you. I really like The Penguin. I think it's a phenomenal show. But I feel like it's not enough. Okay. All right. So let's talk about some good DC stuff. All right. So story number 1. Where's my thing there? All right. Hold on. Boop. Oh, look at them. But don't worry. For this one, I have a bigger picture. Woohoo! So we can really look at it. All right. So here are the chapter times. I put them over here today so that we could really take a look at this photo. Okay. So James Gunn, well, he actually did a very nice announcement. We're going to go over it, the whole thing. But here's a look at the photo. Oh, it's so cozy. All right, so Gunn, my first note, as you can see here, is Gunn tries to pivot, okay? He's having a rough time, boy. He's been handed a real turkey. He's like, my gosh, I can't believe the shape that DC is going to be in when I finally get my hands on it. So he's trying very hard to be like, hey, look over here. And hey, look at this cute dog is a pretty good distraction. So my first thoughts. Well, I gotta tell you, at first, I didn't like it because I couldn't quite tell what I was looking at. I thought that he had some kind of weird mohawk. I thought they went all Dr. Seuss with Krypto. I was like, what? He's got some Seussian mohawk, like a third ear coming out of the top of his head? But then I was like, nobody's talking about that. So the more I looked at it, I was like, oh, his head is turned to the side and his ear is popped up because he hears something. And I was like, oh, he's just a normal dog, the way he's supposed to be. And that made me very happy. But yeah, at first I was like, what the heck is on top of his head? So that was my first initial reaction. I don't think he's listening to Superman, Austin. I think he's listening to Earth. I think Krypto has even better hearing than Superman. And Superman has pretty good hearing. All right, so then the other thing I noticed was more cape porn. Ooh, it's so beautiful. Look at the way it's draped all over this or the moon. It's so beautiful. I love the cape. You know, I'm like David Cornsweet. You don't ever need to turn around. I just want to see this cape do amazing things. All right, so that was my second reaction. I was like, oh, that cape is a thing of beauty. And as for the overall image, I like it. I mean, look, I don't want Krypto to be a big part of the movie. I'm not a Krypto fan. I'm not a dog person. I think Krypto's cute. I like the idea that Krypto exists. I just don't want to spend a lot of time with him. I think that it's very cozy. I think it looks beautiful with the earth and them looking at the earth. It's a boy and his dog, or in this case, a man and his dog. You know, it's very, you know, Superman. And I think it's interesting that, you know, James Gunn has so many other characters in this movie that are not from the Superman space, yet he's not using, I mean, it's like, you know, I wish that this was the movie, and hopefully, maybe for the most part it is. But I like it. I think it's very Superman. I'm not totally sold on David Cornsweet in the suit, but everything that's around David Cornsweet I think looks great. I mean, I don't even love the suit, but right now I'm looking at a dog in a cape, and I think it looks pretty good. You know, I like the space element. I like the element of hope. That's what Superman is supposed to stand for. I mean, he's in space, and yet he's still, you guys are so negative in the comments. Is this what, I guess now I know what some of you have felt when I've not been feeling it in DC. I don't think it looks cheap. I think it looks really great. I think it looks cozy. I think it looks hopeful. I think it reminds you that Superman, even though he's not from Earth, he considers it his home, and he has a great allegiance to it. I mean, I just like it. And I would agree, Bozzolini, that it should have been the first pick. I think this is a better pick than the other one. You guys want to poll? All right, let's let the hate flow through you. What do you think of this first look at Krypto? Photo. I really like it. Not bad. Could be better. And then we'll do absolute garbage. Oh, okay. All right. I can't help myself. All right. So while you guys vote, let's talk about some of the other stuff that went out there. All right. So the internet does love its dogs, and also it's an announcement about Superman. So it's trending number 2 right before I went live. Okay. And so that's nice because, you know, everybody loves dogs. The internet loves dogs. So I think that's very smart. And then James Gunn, I gotta tell you, he's pretty slick with the way he does things. Okay. Billy, we're not to the question and answer period yet, but I mean, I'm glad you're sharing your thoughts there. All right. So this was his reasoning behind it. And by the way, I want to point out, because I thought this was really nice, the actual release was not a still. It was this video where the Earth rotated. So it was like a moving screensaver, which I thought was really cool. This would actually be an excellent screensaver. If I didn't have such a love-hate situation with James Gunn, and I felt really better about the movie, maybe I would even make this my screensaver because I think it's really charming. So he talks about the fact that Krypto is actually based on this dog that he adopted. So, I mean, how can you say anything bad about that? I mean, I wouldn't want to. But, I mean, if you even were inclined to, you can't say anything bad about his dog. All right, so this is not only James Gunn's dog, Ozu, but it's a dog that he rescued from a shelter, he said it's from a hoarding situation where this poor dog was stuck with 60 other dogs and never knew human beings. And so, I mean, part of me was like, oh, so he's putting another relative in the movie. A relative or friend. It's not just any dog. It's James Gunn's dog. Of course it is. But I mean, come on, that's hilarious. So anyway, I mean, at the same time, you're like, that's really nice. So, so he rescued this dog, but he said the dog's a little difficult. And when he was writing the script, he was like, oh, what if the dog had superpowers? That would make the dog even more difficult to deal with. And I was like, oh, that's great. I like him sharing the inspiration as a writer. I mean, I don't know if everybody else is going to relate to it to the same degree. You know, not everybody's getting a dog. I mean, it's an important skill to tell what is interesting only to you and what's interesting to maybe other people. So that's an element there. But then also, look at this. He looped it in with Adopt a Shelter Dog. It's apparently Adopt a Shelter Dog Month. And he used this announcement to bring awareness. I wish he'd put a link. Maybe he did with a follow-up tweet to where to adopt a dog. But I mean, it was really beautiful. You know, I mean, it wasn't as manipulative as him being like, I'm releasing Superman the month that my dad died. And you're like, what? Okay. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, this is just, it seems like just such a nice thing to do. You're like, that's really nice. I can't get upset about it. You know, I mean, I like the photo even as it is. But I mean, this is nice packaging. I'm like, it's pretty good PR, I gotta say. All right. Then you guys sent me some really nice tweets as well that I wanted to mention, okay? So here we go. I got 2 tweets from you guys in response to my saying that we would talk about this, all right? The first was from Bahudur. It says, Grace, please discuss the fact that James Gunn in his recent interactions with fans is increasingly alluding to the fact that they aren't going ahead with The Brave and the Bold. That's his standalone Batman movie. And in fact, he called rumors of casting a middle-aged Batman as BS, which is ridiculous. It's not a rumor. He actually came out of his mouth, okay? We all remember that he said it was going to be an older Batman that would have a preteen son, Damian. I mean, unless Damian's like 6 or 7, I don't understand why anybody would, you know, again, stay off the Twitters, James. You know, it's ridiculous. But then I thought it was also funny and interesting because someone said, where are these movies that you announced? And his clapback was, just because I announced it doesn't mean we're necessarily going to do it because maybe the script just doesn't work out. Now, on the one hand, I say that's great. If a movie's not coming together, then you shouldn't make it. But then you shouldn't announce it in a big presentation with pictures and I mean, you know, it's like, I think that he should have made that more clear up front and been like, here's what I think that I would like to do, and this is what we're exploring. I hope he learned his lesson about announcements so he doesn't do that again. I mean, but you know what? I don't want him to make that other Batman movie, so I allow it. I'm like, yes, don't do it. Yeah, so I really feel that it should be Robert Pattinson. I know some of you really hate that idea, but I think it's ridiculous to do anything but that. So yeah. And then the other tweet down here, I really loved this comment. This is from Alp. Said he did such an amazing job with animals in Guardians. I trust James Gunn at least in doing Krypto. And that I thought was a really nice point. I loved Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And his talking about animals and experiments and how animals should be taken better care of and not used that way was just incredibly touching and moving. I mean, it really triggered a lot of people. People were like, this is too real, man. But I love it. I thought it was great. I see a tweet, Zeke. I can't respond. I get a lot of tweets, as you might imagine. I get a lot of tweets and DMs. But I was like, that's a really good point, you know, and I think everybody liked, Britt, Krypto's not going to die. Krypto's going to be just fine. He's going to be stealing apple pies and causing shenanigans for a long time. But yeah, that's funny, Green Lantern's Light. I like your joke there. But I thought these were 2 excellent points. All right, the next thing is the movie's PR campaign. All right, so now we have 2 images. Boy, that first one looks even worse next to this much better image. Oh, that first image, I don't know what they were thinking. The first image was so bad. It was just so bad, the first image. I mean, I think let's just call that a false start because it's just awful. The coloring looks off. He's sitting in a room that looks odd. I've never seen Superman putting his shoes on in my life, and I don't want to see it. My eyes. The second image is just so much better. It's just crazy that's the next image that we got. Nacho, I would agree. A picture maybe of the Daily Planet newsroom might be a nice idea. But yeah, that's just an awful, awful image. Let me close the poll for what you guys think of this one. All right. JD says, as a PR specialist, this PR campaign is in shambles. Yeah, I was disappointed that the poster that's in the theaters is just the logo. I don't know why the poster isn't like something like this. This should be the poster. They should have waited a few days and released this as the poster. This would be a great poster. This would be an amazing teaser poster, actually. This should be the teaser poster. Get that out to the theaters. I mean, imagine walking by in the multiplex and seeing that backlit. You'd be like, oh, that's gorgeous. All right, so what do you think of this first look at Krypto? 34% of you think not bad. 33% of you really like it. So that's overwhelmingly positive. That's almost 70% positive. 21% of you think it could be better. And 11% of you think it's absolute garbage. That's a solid amount, but it's not a huge amount. But yeah, Danny, PR is public relations. It's like publicity. So yeah, Danny, I don't think this looks like the CW at all to me, because it looks expensive. Are you saying because Krypto maybe he's a little shaggy? But I like that he's shaggy. I mean, I like him. I think he looks really cute. I think he looks adorable. I mean, again, I don't want to see a whole lot of him, but I think he looks really cute. I'm surprised so many of you think this looks like the CW. The CW did so much damage to the DC brand. That was a huge mistake. It was not worth it. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about here before we get to your questions and comments is Bright and Cheerful. This seems to be the year of 2025 with Bright and Cheerful, right? Because the Fantastic Four is taking the same approach. And I'm very curious to see if maybe these two movies end up hurting each other a little bit. And if audiences want to move in this direction. Audiences have been really enjoying darker material and storytelling. Even in the video games, like The Last of Us, people are like, oh yes, we love the darkness. Fantastic Four is like the live-action Incredibles in my opinion. And these movies come out, the same month. Superman, thankfully, comes out first, and then Fantastic Four at the end of the month. We'll see. Maybe this is the dawn of a new type of comic book movie, and I think it's interesting that Marvel and DC are pivoting at the exact same time. Talahuli thinks it's a great idea. Well, let's see how the election turns out. Oh, my goodness. All right, let's see what mood everybody's in. Okay, so what questions and comments do you have about this story? All right, and then we'll go to the next story of the day. Okay. Tenerife says, I hope it's not too cheesy. Yeah, I'm a little nervous still about tone and stuff like that. John Thrasher says, Grace, do you think this is a still or a promo image? I think it's a promo image, but it could be a still from the movie. I mean, I don't know. I mean, we're talking about movies that we've seen so little of. Jico says, when are we getting these teasers? One of you guessed on a previous stream that Superman might get a teaser at Brazil Comic-Con at the beginning of December. I think that's an excellent guess. As for Fantastic Four, I would guess also probably around December. December is when I think they'll start pushing their summer films with teasers. Or, there's always a chance they could wait for Fantastic Four until Captain America comes out, because they don't want to have, they probably want to make sure that they don't overextend themselves and you're still excited about the movies that are coming out first. Marvel's releasing 3 movies next year. Don the Jockey says, I like dogs, but not as much as I love horses. I'm currently working as oh, no, that's not, I'm on to you, Alpar. All right, Bubbles by, I found you on the Twitters. You shouldn't post your crimes, my friend. All right, Bubbles says, I totally agree that the picture represents hope, which is how I think of Superman. I feel it should represent the best of us. Yeah, I like that. I think some people don't agree with stuff like that, but I like it. Hey, Aralysis. That's right, Ben 10. Brazil Comic-Con is called CCXP. Oh, Cosmic says maybe the Super Bowl. Oh, that would be a great tease for Superman. If not the teaser, maybe a first full trailer at Super Bowl. Superman is so football. Superman, such Americana. I mean, Warner Brothers typically doesn't like the Super Bowl, but Marvel has always historically done it, and that's where James Gunn, of course, is coming from. So I would think that maybe they would do that. Michelle, Krypto does have Superman's powers. Who knows if he has X-ray vision, though? I think he does, but he obviously can't talk about it. Hey, Fran says Fantastic Four might have a twisted contrasting parallel tone, methinks. Oh, you mean with Doom, Dr. Doom? Potentially. Bye, Terry. J. Jonah Jameson says, I will pay James Gunn to direct a movie that's not secretly about him. I don't think that's possible, but, that doesn't necessarily mean it's not going to be good. Another Wanda Stan says, hey, Grace, I think the photo is terrible, but it looks like it's from a... Oh, you don't think the photo is terrible, but it looks like it's from a streaming show. The first look photo... Well, I think the first photo was awful. I think we all agree. We were all like, oh, that is not it, James Gunn. But this new photo, I like it. I like the photo a lot. I'm surprised how many people don't like the photo. Hey, Bison. I can't say your full name. Let's see here. Green Lantern's Light says, is Krypto also planned to be in Supergirl? Maybe. Interestingly enough, even though that person was trolling, I think Supergirl obviously has a horse, as you'll find out, or at least she did in the comic. Danny said, Danny says, what do you think Superman's first trailer should be? Just a tease. I just want a proper tease for the teaser. Maybe at Brazil Comic-Con. Mr. Andrews, oh, that's funny. What photo? Isn't this the first photo? Yes, it is. We'll just pretend it's the first photo. That's right, Tenerife. They need a really good score for Superman. Although, do you think James Gunn, that's an interesting question. Will he go back and do the John Williams score, which is so famous? But at the same time, Bryan Singer, when he did Superman Returns, he leaned a little bit too much into the legacy of Christopher Reeve and just basically tried to remake that movie. And everybody was like, make something new. So I would vote, I would use the Superman James, like the John Williams score, maybe over the credits or something. But I would try and have new music. That's funny, I wonder what he'll do. Guardians of the Galaxy didn't have a score. It was like a jukebox musical. He would use, songs very effectively. But I wonder if he'll do that for Superman. I wonder if he would do, because he did that also for Suicide Squad. His Suicide Squad. He likes to do a playlist, not a score. I think Superman needs a score. Ben 10 says that John Murphy is working on Superman. Oh, and David said the shaggy look for Krypto is very on brand for James Gunn. I think, that's a great point, David, because, the Kent farm, I think, does, for so long, Superman and his family and his life in Kansas has been portrayed as idealistic, very Norman Rockwell. But Norman Rockwell had range too. This could still be Norman Rockwell. I think idealistic is the better differentiation. It was the beautiful white picket fence house. Jonathan Kent, his father, and John and Martha always looked like the ideal middle American couple. But I think that James Gunn has leaned heavily into realism and, the people you would actually see populating that space and where they live and what they look like and how things are for them. And I think that's a very interesting approach. I like the fact, I think it's a good idea on the one hand. However, it's been my experience that people don't always like to look in a mirror. And even if that might be what middle America actually might look like, middle America might not want to be identified that way. They might be like, we're working on it. We're trying to get back to the way we were. Or, I think they're always striving for that idealism. So I'm not sure how the middle America will react to the casting of the Kents, a scruffy Krypto, the house that James Gunn has chosen. It's tough. And, you could go either way. You just don't know until you see how that's where it comes in handy to have a focus group and to see what their reaction is. Some people might find it insulting, particularly because James Gunn does not come from middle America. I don't believe that he does, or he certainly does not act like someone who does. He would be, I think, what you would brand a coastal elite. And if it's perceived that he has a negative viewpoint of middle America and red states, that could be not work out well for him. The Poetic Painter says, I pray Gunn doesn't make Superman's DC's Guardians of the Galaxy. You and me both. The Marvel and DC audience is different. I would agree with that, but yet Superman is different. Superman and Batman are very different. I like this. I like it so far. Okay. I guess I could ask you guys really quick in a poll. What kind of Smallville do you want? Idealistic? Realistic? And then somewhere in between. Okay. Again, by the way, anyone who's watching can vote. Oh, thanks, Not Modern Art History. Guns from St. Louis. You know, I told you a long time ago, I pitched a story where Smallville was dealing with the opioid crisis, Leo. Well, I had it was an alien drug, but it was supposed to be a metaphor for the opioid crisis. You know, Main Street's gone. Middle America is very different from the way that it was when Superman was first introduced. I like Dobie Mommy's point. I would go idealistic. Well, I think I would be like, was once idealistic and could be again. Oh, hey, Charlie. I'm glad you're in the chats. Robin Zilla says the idealism might be why I never really resonated with Superman. Too idealistic and clean cut for me. That's always kind of hurt Superman a little bit. And I think that, you know, if maybe James Gunn is brilliant. Maybe he'll cut through that and make, you know, Superman more relatable. You know, it's what's better, you know, to like, to get, you know, what you have to always balance the push and pull. How many fans will you gain and how many will you lose if you change the viewpoint of Superman? You know, like, what do people, I mean, you don't want to lose any of his current fans. It's a tough scenario. You know, I'm surprised that James Gunn went with Superman because he's been traditionally a very difficult character to sell because he's unapproachable. All right, I'm going to close the poll. Then we'll get to the next story of the day. What kind of Smallville do you want? 55% of you want it somewhere in between. Oh, isn't that? Look how it's split. Ah, poor DC. 23% want idealistic, 21% want realistic. I personally think, based on what I've seen so far, that he's gone a little bit too far into the realistic category. But, you know, I haven't seen it in the actual film. So that's going to make a big change. Okay. All right. So let's go to the next story of the day. Thank you very much for your questions and comments. Here we go. Where's the arrow? All right. Story number 2. Boop. Oh, this is a shorty, but a shocker. All right. So Variety ran an article. You know, the hits just keep on coming for this movie. And it was, you know, not an official release, but it was basically revealed Joker 2's digital release date of October 29th of this month, obviously, which is, you know, less than a month after theatrical release. That's like really bad. That's like just so bad. Variety pointed out that the movie is going to do anywhere from 150 to 200 million in terms of a loss. That's just shocking. The people I've included here are the people who made the movie: Todd Phillips, Lady Gaga, and Joaquin Phoenix, and then, of course, the people behind the scenes who made the movie. That's Pam Abdy, David Zaslav, and Mike DeLuca. It's just shocking, okay? So the digital release date, that is really being rushed to digital. I don't even think people are going to watch it on digital, though, to be honest with you. I think maybe people might watch it on Max, but I think there's so much stuff that's out these days. I think most people are going to be like, I think people just won't get around to it. Which is interesting. By the way, it's interesting. You never know which way things are going to break on digital. Alien Romulus and Wild Robot both came out today on digital. Maybe because it's early in the day, but Wild Robot still isn't even in the top 10. It's like number 12 last I checked, whereas Alien Romulus is number 3. But people might be watching that in the afternoon who are like taking a break from work, or from school. But I think that Wild Robot is maybe something people are going to watch in the evenings or maybe on the weekend. We'll see where they settle on movie math on Sunday. But yeah, so I don't know how Joker is going to do on digital. I suspect that it won't do great. We'll do a poll. Do you plan to watch, and anyone can vote in a poll. When will you watch Joker 2? Already saw it in theaters. Will watch on digital. And then waiting for Max. And then Max streaming. And then not going to watch it. Okay, and again, anybody can vote in a poll. Anyone who's watching can vote in a poll. Thanks for bearing with me today. My allergies are bothering me today. Woo! So while you guys are voting on that, something else that was brought up, that's just shocking that it's going to be on digital so quickly. And then something else that's been brought up is that all of these movies or sequels that you see here, the Marvels, Aquaman 2, and Joker 2, are all sequels to billion-dollar films, and all of them were colossal flops. I think it's because, I really liked Aquaman, the first Aquaman. The second one just, was not good creatively. And I think that Aquaman 2, all of the movies, they changed the films dramatically for the sequels. I think in every case here, the sequels do not match the original film, which I think is a big part as to why they did not perform. Also, I do think superhero fatigue is real. I don't think people want to see superhero movies go away totally. I hope not. But I do feel there's just too many of them. I think a really big part is that there's just too many superhero movies. And I think also the connected stories, I think, are becoming overwhelming. I think casuals just don't care that much. Like, that's one of the things that I think might be hurting Penguin. Like, for instance, I think with Penguin, viewership-wise, I tried to get some people I know who aren't into comics to watch it, and they tried it, and they liked the first few episodes, but then they faded. And I think the problem is that unless you're a Batman fan, and you're like, oh, yes, but that's the Penguin, and you know how this might work in here, and how this is, oh, I see what you're doing. It's just that otherwise it just seems like more of the same. Hey, Jeffrey. All right. Dane says, I truly feel like the Marvels flopped because fans want to prove a point. And I think that's why a lot of stuff is flopping. I think fans can now vote with their wallet. And they weren't able to do that before because, first of all, the internet wasn't there to coordinate them, to rally them. And so people, I even saw it in one of the trades. They were like, good enough just doesn't cut it anymore. And you're like, really? What a sad statement to have written. Like that you were relying on good enough saving the day. But I think also there's so many other things to watch. Back in the day, a long time ago, you either watched the movie that came out that weekend or the one television show that was on, or you stared at the wall. That's what your choices were. The one show that's on that night, the one movie that came out that weekend, or nothing. But these days, there is just a never-ending black hole of content. And you can do whatever you want. There's new content. There's old content. It's no extra cost. It's almost for free. And so I think that has really changed the space. And I think still executives are programming for the old ways where they're like, what else are you going to do this weekend? And people are like, what am I not going to do this weekend is the bigger question. I got a huge backlist of things I need to do. John says, does this deter Warner Brothers from doing another Barbie? It sure should. Aided Buffalo says Marvel was at its peak when they just had solid individual movies. The more interconnected they became, the worse the quality. The multiverse, I think, was just a horrible idea. Let me close the poll. All right, when will you watch Joker 2? 43% of you are never going to watch it. And that's even the people who are willing to admit it. It's probably a much bigger number for those people who won't admit it and the people who have the best intentions but won't watch it. 26% of you are waiting for streaming. 23% of you, only 23% of you already saw it. Wow. And then 6% of you will pay to watch it on digital. That's really bad. Whew. Elia says Endgame is a multiverse movie. Yeah, but then, we should have been done with that. All right, I think we're ready for the next story. And then we'll do the Q&A. Man, my allergies. I'm sorry. All right. Oh, yeah, I didn't do any questions on this one. All right, so Danny says, do you think Joker 2 will damage the Joker character forever? No, but I better, it's going to scare the shit out of Matt Reeves. I saw some people being like, maybe he wants to rethink his Joker, and I'd be like, good idea. Sorry, Barry Keoghan. Let's see here. Jose says, I loved the Marvels, but I haven't been interested in watching it again. I thought it was fun. I thought it was cute, the dreaded cute. I mean, sure, it had a lot of problems, but I thought it was fine. It was certainly as good as I think, I thought it was fine in the same space as the earlier Guardians movies, not Guardians 3, but I didn't think it was that bad. But let's be honest, it wasn't that good either. It really wasn't something you needed to see in theaters. Kay Walton says the Marvels was unable to promote with its stars because of the strike. I don't think that's it, Kay Walton. Other movies came out and still, I think, did okay, even though they could. I mean, a lot of movies moved because of that, but I don't think that would have moved the needle that much. MM92 says, do you think digital release will have all the unseen Gaga scenes? They know fans want to see it. I think Todd Phillips wouldn't allow it. And the question is, does he still have that kind of control? I think Todd Phillips would not want his work questioned. That's the movie he made. And it's bad enough the way things are going. He doesn't need people putting together their own edit. Let's see here. Alexander says Lady Gaga needs to take acting tips from Nicole Kidman. Oh, you mean career tips? And do a streaming show. I think a streaming show would be nice for her. Really spotlight her. I think that would help. Wanda's attorney, I'm sorry to hear your allergies are bothering you too. And I love you too, Isaac. All right, I think I see him being like, let's go to the next one. Okay. We don't have time for a poll, Ivan. We're going to move to the next story, but I appreciate your suggestion. Let's see here. Yes, he says, will you be rewatching Joker 2, Grace? No, I'll never watch that movie again. Okay, I mean, there's no point. Especially with the ending, there's no reason to ever revisit it. Okay, third story of the day. This is a good one. Hold on. All right, boom, baby. Here we go. Ooh, the Oscars. All right, so they're starting to take shape. I'll give you a little tea. All right, so I'm just so happy that Jimmy Kimmel is not hosting again this year. With all due respect to Kimmel, he's a fine late-night host, although I'll never forgive him for cornering Jay Leno and Leno's own show. I mean, I can understand he was frustrated that Leno wasn't retiring, but at the same time, you just don't go into someone's own home and insult them like that. I thought that was really bad. But also my other problem is that I don't like when networks have one of their late-night hosts or a host on one of their channels host an event that they have nothing to do with. It really bothers me. It just becomes a commercial for the network. I don't like it when CBS has all of their talent host and present at the Grammys. I mean, they're not singers. It bothers me. It drives me crazy. I agree, Mary. I wish John Mulaney had accepted, but he did not. It boggles my mind that he didn't. I guess he's working on this new live show for Netflix instead. But I mean, what better advertising would there be than hosting the freaking Oscars? But he turned it down, which is inexplicable and odd. All right, but I'm just glad it's not Kimmel. Kimmel's been fine, but he's done it so many times at this point. I'm just really glad that he's not hosting it. All right, so who is going to host? Let's talk about Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds. Now, this has been floating around scoop circles for a while now, as you might recall. Even I tweeted about it. Now, I'll tell you what I heard, and then we'll discuss it a little bit. I heard that Hugh Jackman was very likely to host this on his own potentially. That they had reached out to Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds, and that Ryan Reynolds wasn't so sure that he wanted to do it. But Hugh Jackman did want to do it. That's what I'd heard. So, I don't know if that's still the case, because now they're saying something about multiple hosts, which we're going to discuss in just a moment. But I think, it sounded to me like Hugh Jackman was all in, and Ryan Reynolds, I suspect Ryan Reynolds maybe will do like a bit here and there, but I don't think he wants to officially co-host. I mean, that's not really Ryan Reynolds. Ryan Reynolds is, I think working on, I don't know. I don't know. I think Ryan Reynolds is very savvy. It's funny you say that, Tyler. We need a break from Ryan Reynolds. I think Ryan Reynolds understands that. And I think Ryan Reynolds is very savvy individual. And I think he doesn't want to overexpose himself. Now, I think Ryan Reynolds on that note would be aware that everybody would be very disappointed if he didn't do one bit with Hugh Jackman as host. So I suspect that Hugh Jackman will host, and then Ryan Reynolds will come and do a bit with him. Maybe the opening, something like that. Just one bit about how everybody expects him to co-host or something like that. I think that'd be funny. Or he's like, thanks a lot, Hugh. Now everybody's upset with me. I think that'd be funny. Now, here are some other evidence that Hugh Jackman might be hosting the Oscars. Now, look at this. He just announced a Radio City residency. Woo, here he is. Woo. I've seen Hugh Jackman walking around New York all the time. I saw him live on stage at the Music Man. He's an incredible person. I was thinking of getting tickets to this, but a friend of mine saw him live at the Hollywood Bowl and said it wasn't the greatest show. So, I made an unintentional pun. It said it wasn't the greatest showman with his Los Angeles show. So there's a lot of stuff coming out in 2025 in New York theater, so I don't know if I'm going to see this then. But anyway, look at the dates. Where's my arrow? All right, so he's doing weekends in at Radio City. So he does January, but then he takes a 2-month break. No February, no March. And what do you know? The Oscars are March 2nd, 2025. So I suspect that he carved out this time so that he could prepare and rehearse for the Oscars and then take a short break before also preparing to jump back in on this show. So because he goes from January to April, and then he does every other month for the foreseeable future until he ends. So January, 2-month break, April, May, June, July, and August. So that to me says he's doing it. Because why else would he have those breaks scheduled? Now, as you might recall, he also hosted the Oscars himself in 2009, all by himself. There's one of his opening numbers, I believe. He famously or infamously, depending on how you think it went over, and at the end of his opening number, he sang "I Am Wolverine," which I think a lot of his comic book fans were like, "Whoa, dude, that doesn't totally work." But I think he's a great host. He is a song and dance man. He loves it. He lives for the theater. That's really where his heart is. He's a wonderful movie star. I still continue to just be amazed at the level of depth and seriousness he managed to inject into Wolverine and Deadpool and Wolverine. That's a very funny, silly movie, and yet it works because he balances out Ryan Reynolds so well. He's just incredible in that movie, and I think he's really an incredible show. He is the greatest showman overall, and I think that he would do a very, very nice job hosting. And I'm sure he'd reference when he's saying "I Am Wolverine" and stuff like that, and it would be nice for him. That's funny. Jose remembers singing "I Am Wolverine." Yeah, if you were a fan and you were watching, you were like, "What did I just see?" But anyway. Yeah, it's funny. In 2009, this was him, he was really trying to get back into the musical theater because he was doing so many movies at that point. And I think him hosting the Oscars was a really good way for him to remind everybody that's where he comes from and that's where his heart is. And, now we all know that because he's done so much theater. And also Ryan Reynolds has talked about the fact that Hugh Jackman's dance training has really helped him a lot with his action sequences. He's very good at doing the choreography because choreo is choreo, as they say, be it dance or action sequences. And so he's very, very good at it. He was amazing in Music Man. He was so good. He was just such a precision performer. He was a thrill to see. If you ever have a chance to see Hugh Jackman live, I would highly recommend that you do that. I'm glad you guys all like my detective skills. All right, so let's talk about this other thing, which you guys have all seen. Other hosts. So the word is that they're considering doing a multiple host situation, which is really no host. But they have different people step up and do different sections. So they're not only considering Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds, but Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande, who of course are going to be hot off of Wicked. I agree with some of you. I think Hugh Jackman should be the main host, and then he should team up with other people throughout the show. I'd love to see him do something with them. And of course, he loves musical theater. He'd just lose his mind. I'm sure he loves Wicked as much as the rest of you. Then some of the other names that are being bantied about are Amy Poehler, who of course has Inside Out 2. So this is a big year for her. Dwayne Johnson. Apparently they've wanted Dwayne Johnson to do the Oscars for a very long time. I really like Dwayne Johnson, as you know. Huge fan of Dwayne Johnson. I don't know how good of a host he would be. I think, there's also the overexposure situation a little bit. And then also, I think that, I don't know, The Rock is like a spokesperson so often. Hey, Sadie. Thank you, Sadie. For his own products, that I think it would just feel a little bit more like that, I don't think it would feel as special because he's always on Instagram. I mean, The Rock is insanely accessible by design. But I think you want a host that's not quite as accessible. And then they also said Will Ferrell. Will Ferrell to me is very hit or miss in terms of his comedic ability. Sometimes I think he's hilarious, and sometimes I think he misses by a country mile. You're like, that was so not funny. It passed over being funny for being not funny and is now not funny again. That's how unfunny that was. I often feel that way sometimes when I see Will Ferrell. So, I don't know. I like the idea of Hugh Jackman being the main person and maybe teaming up with other people throughout the show. But yeah, I think it should be Hugh Jackman. I think Hugh Jackman, and sprinkle a little Ariana and Cynthia, a little Ryan Reynolds in there. That's what I think. All right, so what do you guys think? You guys want a poll on this? All right, we'll do a poll. Who do you want to host the Oscars? And again, anybody watching can vote in the poll. Who do you want to host the Oscars? Hugh and Ryan? Just Hugh. Just Hugh. Hugh and others. And then multiple hosts. Okay. Anyone can vote in the poll, by the way. So does anybody have any questions or comments about this story? Thanks, Sadie. That's very sweet of you. Tenerife wants none of these people. They want new people. John Thrasher says, if you heard of Wolverine is in Doomsday. That's kind of, I guess, related to this. I heard he was going to be in Secret Wars, but I don't know if he's going to be in Doomsday. Thanks, Danny. Oh, Nick says maybe he can sing I'm Just Hugh. That's right. That's why I was wondering where Just Hugh, what that sounded like. It sounds like I'm Just Ken. I would love it if Ryan Gosling, although I don't know. If Ryan Gosling came back and then maybe did a take on that. The Ramekins, the Oscar ratings are fine. I mean, they're never what they were at the high point. And I don't know if they ever will be again. But they're pretty good. Oh, John says maybe he's filming in February and March. That's potential too. He could be away filming. It's not guaranteed. He signed on for that Robin Hood movie. So he might be filming. That might be another case. But it's still very suspicious timing. Oh, hey, Ella. Mika, I'd love Billy Crystal to come back one more time. I love Billy Crystal. He and Bob Hope are like the best Oscar hosts of all time. Cody says, is it just me or do the Oscars seem very weak this year? They are. I think, again, because you're coming off the strike, so there just isn't as much content as usual. All right. No Taylor Swift, Danny. Taylor Swift better be careful, too. She's a little overexposed. Let's see here. Who do you want to host the Oscars? 31% of you want Hugh and Ryan, while 29% want Hugh and others. 21% are fine with just Hugh, And only 17% of you want this multiple hosts idea. Well, Hugh Jackman, I guess it was a very Hugh poll. But I mean, clearly everybody's pretty happy with it. I guess I should have said, offered like somebody like totally not included here. All right. I miss Craig Ferguson too, Caliban. Did he do something? I don't remember. Oh, let's see here. Tenerife says 2 months is too short to film a movie. Well, not necessarily. Not if he's not the lead or not in every scene. I mean, that's not the shoot. That's how much he has to be on set. And so that would be doable. And keep in mind, he's not doing these shows every day. These shows are only one weekend a month. Carlos says, I know off topic, but have you heard any rumblings about Demi Moore being nominated for The Substance? I think it's unlikely. Maybe for a Golden Globe. Because they split the categories. I mean, it's not impossible because it's a slow year, but I think it's not, she's not a front runner. Let's put it that way. All right, let's move on to the Q&A section of the stream. All right, 10 minutes till 2:55. Oh, Dory, there's some talk that Cynthia and Ariana might potentially host part of the Oscars. So your little brother Gabriel says, Grace, they have made Superman in the animated series. Couldn't they just follow that blueprint? I like that a lot. James Gunn hasn't been referencing it. He's leaning more into the comics, but he does seem to be paying attention to the animated series for the Justice League. So I don't know. I liked the show, but I think I can understand the comics that he's referencing are very strong. He's basically referenced every strong Superman comic there is, so there's no material left for the sequel. Because, I think Superman doesn't have the depth of the source material that, like, for instance, Batman does. Innovative David says, voted never going to watch for Joker 2. Did just over the summer finally watch The Marvels, was good. Excited for Agatha tomorrow, especially after the mid-season trailer. Yes, I like, thanks for the update, Innovative David. I like it. And thank you for your generosity. I'm very excited for Agatha All Along tomorrow night. We're going to get Billy's origin story. Nacho says, hi, Grace. Did you see Sydney Sweeney how she looks in her boxing movie? I think she's modeling it after I, Tonya to get an Oscar. I'd be amazed if she got an Oscar nomination. Maybe she's a great actress and she's been hiding those skills from us all this time. I mean, you never say never, but I think it's unlikely. Daniel says, do you think we could get a Jurassic World Rebirth a trailer in front of Wicked with Universal? Oh, Universal and Jonathan Bailey, maybe. I don't think they're a huge fit with each other. But maybe. I still think maybe they'll wait a little bit on Jurassic. Jurassic could also be Super Bowl. Finn, I'm so glad you got a membership. Let's see here. Rashad, I thought Ariana Grande's SNL was fantastic. I thought Nate Bargatze was a little funnier the week before, but she didn't have as strong an episode across the board, but she had some incredible sketches. I thought she was very funny. Isaac says, what film has your favorite plot twist that you recommend to watch? Don't spoil the surprise. Well, obviously The Usual Suspects is one of the greatest surprise twists of all time. That's off the top of my head. I think that Interview with the Vampire, which the show, which I'll be reviewing later this week, has some wonderful twists in it that I was impressed with. Josh says, Marvel's Wiccan poster is their second biggest post of the year behind Robert Downey Jr. as Doom. Well, I don't know who said that. I don't know where you saw that. I'm glad the internet is supporting. You know what? I gotta tell you, I'm gonna do a little observation. I think it's interesting that I think that the LGBTQ community and women in particular, maybe it's just what's on my stream, but I think there's like a group that likes the fierceness and the fashion and the tea that really pumps up social media and is very good at using it. And I think that's why you're seeing Wiccan doing so well and why The Acolyte maybe trended on Twitter, even though the viewership numbers weren't great. We'll get Agatha viewership numbers at the end of this week. But the Penguin does not appeal to that group, I believe, or at least doesn't give them anything to talk about. And that I think is really, it's been fascinating to me to see a lot of straight guys going really crazy over Sophia Falcone, but they just don't know how to blow up a character online like the other groups do. And that's been really interesting to me to see. And also it made me realize that as much as I like Sophia Falcone as a character, I don't think she excites me as a character. I'm not like, oh my gosh, Sophia Falcone, I'm going to become a Sophia Falcone stan. And so I think that's interesting. You know, it's like, I think that's one of the reasons the Beefcake does so well, because it also is very popular with that group. Hey Gareth, so nice to see you, and you're always so generous. And so I think, you know, that might be, I think we're refining that idea of what does well and what's able to blow things up. And Penguin does not have that element whatsoever. And I think you're seeing that reflected in the lack of conversation around the show. Let's see here. Jesus, hey, Jesus Lopez says, hey, Grace, these streams are really great. Ah, thank you. Mwah. All right, let's see here. Dawn the Jockey says, will you and Alpar that's you, Al. You're asking about yourself. Stop trolling me, Al. We're not in a fight right now, but stop trolling me, man. I don't get your crazy British humor. I don't watch this show you're talking about. Adam says, Adam D. Sabato says, do you think the SN... but I continue to give you content for your feed, I guess. Let's see here. Adam D. Sabato says, do you think the SNL movie will get awards buzz? Maybe for the actor playing Lorne Michaels, but I don't really... Maybe a scripting Oscar. I think people are kind of over Jason Reitman. You know? It just didn't work out. I would agree with Shad. Her Jennifer Coolidge impression was comedy gold. That and her sketch about competitive board game playing, that really showed, I think, a side to Ariana Grande that she doesn't show a lot. And it was really, really charming and hilarious and appealing. She's an other one. I'm becoming an Ariana Grande fan. I told you, they're starting to make me feel the Wicked Party. I'm like, this is pretty great. Sadie says, frontrunners for Best Actor, Actress for Oscars. Oh, that's a whole different conversation, Sadie. That's going to take too long. Let's see here. But I think there's some, I think it's still pretty wide open. Let's see here. Dancing Doug 60 says, I noticed Wonder Woman hasn't been announced yet. Maybe Gunn will use Zatanna instead of Diana. No. Don't play around with the Trinity. There's one Trinity. It's Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. What is the German three? Right? Or no, this. I was watching that clip from Inglourious Bastards the other day. I was like, what is it? I was like, who the heck would do this? This is nuts. Okay. Thank you, Dancing Dog 60. Yeah, Billy, I love Interview with the Vampire. I can't wait for season 3. Oh, yeah, Nicole Kidman for Baby Girl. She's probably the front runner. I don't know, though. But she's certainly going to be nominated. J. Jonah Jameson. Oswald Cobblepot is not beefcake enough for you? I'm enjoying it. I love his performance. Wait till you see the whole thing. Alberto says, I love both Agatha and Penguin. Milioti is the reason I watch the show. I'm not saying some people don't like it. I'm talking about the online chatter. Where is it? I see a lot of straight guys trying very hard to make Sophia Falcone happen, and I love that for them. My favorite Sophia Falcone response from anyone who's attracted to her is, I can change her. I think that's so funny because you so often see that with attributed to guys, so often it's like that you can change a guy, that's been a long stereotype in, women thinking they can fix guys, and I think that's hilarious. See, Degaitai says he can actually change her. I think that's hilarious. And to see that reversed and to see that guys say that about women, which I've never seen that before. And I thought that was amazing. I really, really thought that was funny. I loved that. Rob, that's a good point. Agatha has a fun factor, whereas Penguin does not. Marlon says, Grace, will you dress up for Halloween? I'm going to wear a funny hat. Well, I have another witch's hat that I bought 2 witch's hats for Agatha. And one of them made the show, and the other one I'm going to wear on Halloween. I have a little cape and gloves. But, I'm going to be outside mostly on Halloween, so I have to dress for my puffer coat. Movies, TV reviews loves Sophia Falcone's fashion. I liked her fashion when she started, but you'll see as the show progresses, it just becomes more and more outlandish to the point where I was like, why are you trying to make her a Batman villain? She's not an outlandish Batman villain. Dory Does Voices says the power dynamic is completely reversed in modern dating. That's fascinating. I think isn't that fascinating? I don't know how I feel about it, but I think that's fascinating from like a analytical observational situation. Big Witch says, "What's for dinner? Movie theater food. I'm gonna see Smile 2 tonight. I'm gonna get. My friend of mine said, "Oh, the first Smile was so good, you should watch it." And I was like, "I don't want to see 2 Smile movies in a row. Forget it. I'm just gonna watch this new one." Largely because I think Naomi Scott is some of the best casting I've ever seen in my life. David Kyle says, "I got into Fortnite because of Emma Frost." Emma Frost is great. The fact that MCU is not utilizing her is criminal. Slade, I did read Joe Locke's interview with Entertainment Weekly. He's just so charming. Chris says, "Agatha watch along for the finale." I can't do that because I have to be able to take notes so I can review it. I gotta tell you, it's brutal staying up that late, but these shows are so hot. Like, how many episodes is Daredevil going to be running for? I'm like, what is that going to be, like 4 months of like just staying up till 3 or 4 in the morning? I mean, that's hard to do, actually. Zetus Lapidus says, "Thoughts on the Agatha mid-season trailer." It was incredible. I can't wait for this show to keep going. I'm so excited. Oh, Daredevil's 9 episodes. Thank goodness. I can't handle 16. When they don't give us the episodes in advance, it's just so hard to cover. And, a lot of channels wait till the next morning, but, I got to have the competitive edge. Oh, all right. Twice as Bright says, "How's the prep for The Last of Us 2 going?" I haven't started because, and now we're heading into the holidays. I'll watch it. I'm definitely going to do it. You know what's going to happen? They're going to release the first full trailer, and I'm going to be like, "Oh, crap, I didn't do it." And then I'll have to watch it really quickly. Astronomy, it was supposed to be like 16 or 18 episodes at first, but then hopefully they realized that was ridiculous. Oh, that's very sweet of you, John Thrasher, to offer, but I used to have help, but then I had to overlook everything to such a degree that I was like, I might as well be editing this myself. Let's see here. I can't tell you what I'm doing for I'm spending it with family. I'll tell you that. That's what I'm doing for Halloween. Carla, I'm glad it's on a Thursday. Oh yeah, I'll review Agatha. It'll be, oh, that's really good for me. I'll review Agatha on Wednesday night. Sleep late. Oh. Then I'll get up and take the rest of the day off and celebrate Halloween. That sounds like a plan. Thank goodness, actually. That allows me to take Halloween off and still have a video be up. Woohoo! If they release anything on Halloween, I will lose my shit. Okay. Heinrich says, "Hey Grace, I just want to say thank you for making quality content and building a positive discussion space." Oh, it's my pleasure. Sending love to you back in South Africa. Well, what did Dan say? Oh, Zetus Lapidus said, "Could Jack Schaefer be a good lead for Supernatural MCU if she wants to do it?" Carlos, the Nielsen numbers for Agatha will be this week. We'll actually discuss them in a live stream on Friday. They come out late Thursday. Maybe it'll be on Thursday's live stream, but as soon as they come out, like, I'm not going to wait for Movie Math to discuss them because they're too big a deal. Bye, Dancing Dog 60. I hope you have a good meeting. Ice Gots to Jet as well. Yes, Leo, thank you. Please like and subscribe. I would really, really appreciate it. Also, if you like the video and you hit that subscribe button, you're more likely to get a membership. Think about it. The next live stream will not be tomorrow, Steve. The next live stream will be on Thursday and Friday. So live streams this week are, oh, Heather, there'll be, I'm sorry you have work on Friday. The live streams this week will, because tomorrow I'm doing my Smile 2 review, and then I'm going to be doing Agatha in the evening. And then on Thursday there will be a live stream, and on Friday there will be a live stream. My schedule got messed up this week. I wrote out a video, but it's probably not going to go up until next week. All right, everybody, I love you. I'll see you soon. Okay, bye-bye. Bye-bye.